All right. Well, welcome back to the ITC Tax podcast. Today we have Kyle Hanson, one of our senior consultants with ITC Tax. And today we'll be talking about dealer heavy equipment and how that might impact your property taxes for business personal property. Just a quick introduction. Kyle, you want to introduce yourself, and thanks for taking the time today to join the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Kyle Hanson. I've been doing property taxes for about 14 years now. Been doing it for quite a while and, learning just all kinds of different ways to try to help out my clients the best I can.
A little background, you were the Pritchard Abbott for a few years and
hmm
then joined ITC the last, 4 years
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
ITC? So
Yeah,
10
so,
roughly with
yeah,
Pritchard Abbott as an appraiser and then ITC the last 4 years.
right.
What was your focus at Pritchard Abbott, Kyle? A little
Yeah.
back there.
I was mainly like IUP, so industrial, utility, and then just generic personal property. I mean, from your big manufacturing facilities to your mom and pop little facilities that just, anything and everything that has personal property. I did there and I'm doing now. So I've kind of done both sides of it. So I know kind of the ins and outs of how the appraisal districts work and all that good stuff. So
Yeah. Well, thanks again for your time. And so the reason we asked Kyle to join today, because he's been doing a lot of dealer heavy equipment for just due diligence work for potential clients, and then actually bringing on clients to help them with their filing process and what qualifies for dealer heavy equipment. So just kind of turn it over to you again, Kyle, with regards to that. Just kind of give a high level, I guess, of dealer heavy equipment and how it might impact a potential client or a property owner, and maybe what qualifies. Just kind of go over the details of dealer heavy equipment in general, if you don't mind.
yeah, absolutely. Dealer service equipment is a fantastic tool that we can use to help minimize property tax. It's written for certain equipment out there to help lower the tax burden on these pieces of equipment. And so we can use that to find potential new clients and new equipment out there that meets the definition and get them applied to this dealer's heavy equipment. And the benefit of it is you pay about a twelfth of what something may be worth in terms of tax dollars. So it significantly can reduce your tax base. And so it's a very fantastic tool that we can use to really help out anyone who's got some equipment that they think may qualify. They can reach out. I'd love to chat with them and walk them through how we can maybe see if it qualifies or what we can do to get it qualified for this special treatment.
Yeah, and so once it qualifies, kind of what are the requirements to maintain the qualification of the dealer heavy equipment?
Yeah, so it's an ongoing filing. So they actually just passed a new law in regards to it this past year. So now there's 4 quarterly filings instead of it used to be monthly filings, but there's quarterly filings that we have to file. We have to file a whole bunch of different information to both the appraisal district and the assessor, and then it's a little different from your normal tax base because you do pay some of your tax dollars throughout those quarters instead of waiting until the end and making one big payment. But those payments are, like I said, typically around the 12th of what they would be paying it towards, at the very end of the year. So it's a huge savings. And so, yeah, it just takes, working with us and me getting with the different appraisal districts and filing those quarterly filings now. Like I said, it is quarterly now. So it's 4 times a year instead of 12 times. So that, makes it a little easier for all involved, including the counties. They don't have to process 12 different filings and payments and all that good stuff. So that's another benefit that's just happened that just passed with one of the House bills in this last session. Um,
So the quarterly filings just took place, so that'll impact your 2026 filings,
yeah,
for dealer.
so we actually haven't filed a quarterly filing yet because the first one is due in April. So if you're seeing this and you are wondering, does my property qualify for this, April 20th is the deadline for this first quarterly filing. So, we've got to get a move on if we're going to get qualified for this tax year. And if you file late, the penalties start stacking up pretty hefty and pretty fast. So it's definitely something that if you have a question, just definitely reach out to us because any of us would be glad to talk you through it.
Yeah. I guess one of the things too, it's important to know that the equipment has to qualify, right? There's certain equipment that qualifies for dealer heavy equipment, but you don't necessarily have to go through the intense review process like you do with pollution control with TCEQ. It's just a matter of identifying what equipment would qualify and then start filing the forms with the assessor and accounting, correct?
Yeah, right. So that's just the thing. Like me and you would talk about it, you being the client. We would talk about it. I'd say, yeah, that qualifies. And then it's just a simple filing of the form. And then the county, at that point, they'll talk to you about the different things, but it doesn't have to get some big approval like TCEQ and some of these other exemptions that significantly help reduce tax burdens. It's a much simpler process in that side of things. There's still a lot to it that we have to do, but it's not wait until the end of the year and some filing comes back that says, yes, you qualified or no, you didn't qualify or whatever. Typically, because I know what qualifies and doesn't qualify, we can separate because you may have some pieces of your equipment that qualify and some that don't. So we would file those pieces over here in the dealer's heavy equipment, and we would keep the ones that don't qualify on on your standard renditions that you currently are doing that are required by the state for rendering.
I'm glad you brought that up because we need to make people aware of how they can impact themselves and how they file their dealer heavy equipment versus business personal property. So, what are the do's and don'ts of how to file, um, each form and what to file on each form and what not to file on each form once you recognize the fact that some of your equipment might qualify and you start to file the dealer heavy equipment?
Yeah. So there's some definitely some pitfalls that you can fall into if you don't follow the rules exactly how they're written out, which is why it's very recommended to get a projects firm to help you file these forms so that you're not disqualifying yourself by reporting the wrong thing to the wrong form. If you report something the wrong way, it will get removed and you will not be able to take part of the dealer's heavy equipment on that piece of equipment. And you will pay the full value of that piece of equipment instead of, a much reduced value. So it's definitely recommended to reach out to us and let us help you navigate those fields because that's what we do. It's what we've spent many years learning all the ins and outs of, and we're here to make sure that we service you and make sure that you're taken care of 100%.
With regards to, say, after you look through the asset list, you find equipment that qualifies. It's important for people to know to not report what does qualify under the dealer heavy equipment on the business personal property because now you're being double assessed, right?
Exactly.
Uh,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
county's not going to know or want to take the time to remove what you reported on the dealer heavy equipment if it was reported on the
Yeah. That
general
absolutely could.
business personal property, right?
Yeah. They absolutely couldn't have it on there twice. And so, yeah, you could be paying the full value plus a twelfth of the value rather than just a twelfth of the value. Because if you're reporting it here and you report it over here, as soon as you report it on your rendition, it's on your rendition. You can't get it off of there. You can't say, "Oh no, it was actually dealer's heavy equipment." Like, you can't do that. So,
For that
if you file-
particular year, right?
yeah,
If you
correct.
mistakenly reported or you're not cognizant of what qualifies and what doesn't, the following year, you can start,
Yeah, you start
filing
fresh and
your dealer
yeah,
equipment, right?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another reason why this April 20th deadline is a big deadline now because April 20th the dealer's heavy equipment's due. April 15th is when the renditions are due. So if you file them in April 15th as under the rendition, you've pretty much lost out on the April 20th dealer's heavy equipment for this current year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this year it's going to be very important to make sure that you are filing things the correct way, and not double filing, and not filing under one and not the other that you shouldn't be. So it's a big deal because the penalties both ways can start adding up. If you take it upon yourself to put something under dealer's heavy equipment that shouldn't be there, and therefore not rendering it the other way, and then you get penalized for not rendering it on your regular rendition. Or if you don't file the dealer's heavy equipment, you can get penalized on that side of things too, for filing late or any of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's definitely important to reach out and let us help you walk you through that, because there's less than a month now before renditions are due.
Now with the general BPP filing for Texas, you can extend. There's no extensions, right, with dealer heavy equipment? Just
Correct.
so people know. Yeah.
Yeah, so the April 15th deadline for the regular renditions, yeah, we can get that extended to May 15th with no questions. It's an automatic approval here in Texas. The April 20th dealer's heavy equipment, there is no extensions. If you're late, you start getting penalties. There's no, oh, I'm sorry, I need to do it. Well, now you've got, $500 penalty, $1,000 penalty, which really stacks up, especially when we're saving you so much money by filing it this way, and then you start adding penalties that just eats right into what you save by filing. So
It diminishes that savings over
mhm.
time. Yeah, so important thing to note is, once you identify equipment to be filed under dealer equipment, you're not required to file that same equipment on the business personal property.
Yeah, you're not required, and also you should not do it, because if you file it
Right.
there, then you can just might as well not have filed dealer's heavy equipment.
Right, because it negates your dealer heavy equipment because now you filed it on the general business
Mhm.
personal. Anything else people should know about dealer heavy equipment? Kind of short and sweet, but important aspect of the property tax code for your business personal property to be aware of, because this type of equipment usually is fairly large in value, so it can be significant in savings. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
I mean, that's kind of the short of it. There is that we can take a piece of equipment that's worth millions, and you can end up paying taxes on $10,000 versus millions of dollars. So I mean, you can see how quickly you can save just tons of money by filing on a dealer's heavy equipment and following the rules that they've laid out for us to follow. We're not doing anything that's not within the tax code or anything like that. Like, they've set this up for us to use, and so it's on us to use it how it should be used.
What type of companies do you typically see that would qualify? And maybe a couple pieces of equipment that typically qualify, just to throw out there to get kind of people's minds thinking about this and determining whether they might qualify and if they want to reach out to somebody to help them.
The law was originally written to cover heavy equipment. That's why it's called dealer's heavy equipment. It was talking backhoes, track hoes, wheel loaders, crawler tractor, big construction heavy equipment. And so anything that falls in those lines, cranes, I mean, there's tons of the equipment out there that qualify for this. And so, that's kind of the quickest thing: construction equipment, cranes, that kind of equipment out there that is just the easy way to get a qualification. Now we can start getting into some, specified things, and some generator type equipment, things like that, that also can qualify. That was the big thing back a few years ago, was the compressors, natural gas compressors sitting out on wellheads. They took this law and said, "Wait a minute, our equipment also qualifies." And it actually went through courts, and finally they said, "You know what? Based on the definition, yeah, the compressors qualify also." So there's lots of ability out there for us to sit down and look at a piece of equipment and see, does it meet this definition? And if it does, then we can file it.
Yeah, no, good to know. I really appreciate your time. This is good information for people to learn from, Kyle, and thanks for your expertise on this. And thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate your time, and look forward to catching back up in the next podcast. Have a good day. Thanks again, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Talk to you later.